Breaking news this Monday night. The Kremlin calls the troops into eastern Ukraine.
In February 2022, I was volunteering for an independent journal, and I was doing conflict analysis. So I was writing a few articles about different conflicts taking place in the world. Until I was tasked about writing with what was going on in Ukraine, and a lot of people don't know that, but before the Russian invasion, the tension really rose quite significantly in the region before the invasion, in the Donbass especially.
Breaking news this Monday night. The Kremlin calls the troops into eastern Ukraine. The new orders from Russia's president in 2 rebel regions he now recognizes as independent.
So I was writing about this rise in tension, and then I remember telling my friends, and telling my family, like Russia will invade Ukraine. And then Russia invaded, and that changed everything for a lot of people.
When I was talking with a friend of mine about international volunteers fighting in Ukraine in Donbass, I personally didn't have the war in Ukraine like in my mind. It was, there was an invasion in 2014 and the Russians took Crimea. But all the fighting that was going on in Donbass, I don't know, it just wasn't in my head. I was going through a lot of open source intelligence, and then in the morning of the 24th February, I was going to work, and a little notification popped up on my phone, and the Russians invaded Ukraine, and I was like, damn, what the fuck? I need to help there.
I help people my completely life, and that was not my first humanitarian mission, so I know a little bit how it's working before, and when you know how you can do it. So we organize a convoy, we drive there, we want to help on the border because we see it on social media and the TV, the people really need help, and we know how we can provide them with the help that they need. Normally we want to stay for 2 days or 3 days, only the delivery, and then we see we can do more, and we do it.
I remember having the same feeling as when the Syrian revolution started back in 2013, around that time. And I remember watching every piece of reading every pieces of articles and watching every documentary on it, on the Syrian revolution, and how terrible I was actually feeling, because I couldn't do anything, but I wanted to do something. And it was tearing me apart from inside, because I knew I had at least the will. I didn't have the capacities at that time for the Syrian revolution, but I had the will, and that's when in 2013, 2014, around that time, and then I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do. I didn't have a clear path, but I knew. When I saw like Wally, for example, going to Syria to fight in Syria for the Kurdish people, that really enlightened me in like, this is what I want to do, like this is exactly, I want to choose my own battles. I want to fight for the right people and not for the will of some random dudes, at the top of the food chain. I want to fight for those that are at the bottom, and that they are suffering under those that are making the decision. I remember having this discussion with myself, of like, hey bro, you have the skills now. You have the capabilities to do it. Are you gonna sit again through this conflict, or are you gonna get your ass up and actually go and do something? If you don't do it now, you might never do it. So either you take the leap, or you regret it. The choice was clear. Bought my ticket, and a week later, I was gone.
I wasn't per se surprised to hear that Alex was going to Ukraine. You know, looking back on the 2 years prior to that moment, it was expected that sooner or later he would embark on his first humanitarian mission. And I think obviously, you know, time flies really quickly. So from the time, you know, he told us to the time that he was actually on the ground, it was like a blink of the eye. I think that was the shocking part. I feel like that's where, you know, some of the worry comes as a friend, you know, to be like, damn, you know, is he prepared? Is he going to be able to complete his mission and make it back in order to continue to complete missions in the future? I guess these are some of the thoughts and the emotions that I and some of our friends might have shared, you know. But I guess I had the privilege of, you know, working with the guy for enough time to be truly confident knowing that this guy was going, that Alex was going to Ukraine, having worked very hard towards this and inevitably, you know, being in the right place at the right time with the right people, making the right choices.
I had a few contacts. I was given a few contacts overseas that were either going to Ukraine or they were in Ukraine at the moment. One of them through chain of random people. One of them was J3. So J3 was my initial contact in Lviv. I was giving his number and I just called him, completely random. Hey bro, I'm coming. What should I bring? What should I do? Where should I go? So then it really pushed me over the edge, you know, like, yes, my plane ticket was bought, but there was still like a foot outside the door. When I talked to J3, I knew it was possible. And I had someone on the ground actually doing it at the moment.
I got in touch with an organization from Switzerland, 22nd Wildlife, which is primarily doing wildlife firefighting and anti-poaching in South Africa. And they were like, yeah, bro, just join us, come to us. We definitely have a lot of work to do. So I grabbed one of my buddies from Germany who I'm working with, and we were both like, damn, we need to do anything we can do.
You know, this side in the Polish side at the beginning of the war, the refugee camp was absolutely like enormous. It was a village. Like usually there's nothing at that place. It's just a normal like crossing. There's only like a few I want to say houses.
Really dire here at the border. To give you an idea, I arrived yesterday and there were about half of the people that we can see now. There's more and more people coming through the border. Behind me you can see being set up some humanitarian help, very scarce at the moment.
They were all there helping the refugees crossing the border. And 22nd was one of them. And I remember meeting one guy that actually became one of my good friends, one of my close friends later. I remember meeting him around a campfire in the refugee camp and having discussion, you know, and I think we really connected around that fire. So there was still a language barrier there, but still I think we kind of connected. And then the day after we went to see the 22nd Wildlife, we went to see the camp of 22nd Wildlife, which my friend was working for.
When the war started, they just packed a car full of guys and got over there to look what work they could do. And not even a few weeks later, they already built a base camp on the Polish side of the border in Chebeny.
And as soon as I entered 22nd and I started talking with the guys from 22nd, it really clicked. You know, like those guys were more hardcore, I want to say. Like they were sleeping in tents, you know, like they were actually really well organized when it came to convoy management.
I'm very glad that I was there and that they were there. So without them, I wouldn't have met a lot of people I really like now. One of them is Alex. Like, I've met him 3 times in my life, and he already is one of my best buddies, I would say. For me, it was my first time going to a conflict zone or war zone. So it was definitely very, very interesting for me to get taught how to act there, what to do, what not to do. I really took some good memories from the time with them.
It was a good experience. So I learned a lot of things about people and myself, of course. And yeah, you know, I started in the Ukraine time like a green frog. I never was in a war zone before. It was not my first humanitarian mission, but it was my first time in a war country. And I'm very happy today that I can learn so much different things from so much different skilled people. Step by step, I'm doing more and more, and it was amazing to learn step by step how you work in a war country and how you accomplish your missions. It was amazing. So I'm happy that I do it, and I learned so much things for my life. It was a good time.
And I decided to stay. That's where I met Sandro for the first time. Sandro was one of the first guy from 22nd I met, and then we became friends there. We started building 22nd camp because they just switched camp.
From the first moment we was friends, we work like a team. We start some German-Canadian hamburger projects to build up the camp a little bit. And yes, so we was all the time on the same vibe.
Building up tents, you know, and then try to put extension on the camps and try to like build tables, for example, and chairs, and so it was fun. It was a good introduction to humanitarian work. But one of my good friend Chris actually, and back then we were still, you know, we were only acquaintances. But he said, "Listen, I'm willing to give you a shot, you know, and then tomorrow you're coming with me, and we're gonna cross to Ukraine, to Lviv, and then that's gonna be your first mission."
I did a few evacuations, but I did them by my own, or basically with a friend of mine, ex-special forces, and yeah, so that's how I basically ended up in that Ukraine game, if you want to call it game. Basically, yeah, it's usually people end up there on some weird ways.
Kind of felt not real the first time going over the border and crossing the border, and on the other side there were just block posts everywhere and soldiers with their guns in their hands. Our first trip was to Lviv, 60, 70, 80 kilometers from the Polish-Ukrainian border. The target of our mission was to evacuate one disabled person from a nursing home in Lviv. We just got there, grabbed the guy, brought him outside.
Our mission was drive to Lviv and deliver the hospital there with some medical supplies, and after this we want to go to a children cancer hospital and give them the option for evacuation. So bring them out of the country to Poland and help them with whatever they need. We arrive in Lviv, we deliver the hospital, arrive at the children hospital, go inside, and it smells like that. You know, they have no air condition. Today I can't understand it because it's Lviv, so, but I don't know, sandbags, you know, very sad day, a very rainy day, not rainy, but, you know, gray day, and inside it smells like that, the people are very sick, and we we're waiting outside of the building and a bus arriving there with some very sick kids inside. And I'm going there to help them, you know, and I have a kid in my arms, and I put them in the wheeler and help them to drive inside the building. But our mission was to bring the people out of there, you know. And at this moment, you realize, shit, you can do what you can do, you know. You can give 110%, but you can't stop the war. You can't stop the chaos. You can try your best to bring it, you know, on a level, but you can't stop it. So it was very emotional, you know.
And I distinctly remember the feeling, you know, of like, this is it. Like, I had so much doubt before going that I would actually do something and that I would not be just a useless person. In my journal, I think the first 2 weeks of me being on the ground is just me saying, I wish I will not be useless. I hope I will not be useless. And now, after a week that I'm there, Chris says like, hey bro, come in, we're going tomorrow. So the mission was simple. It was just, I think we were 2 or 3 cars, convoy from our camp in Rebene, and then we left for Lviv.
On the ride to Lviv, I had a chance to get Alex, amazing dude, known better, and I think we figured out that we had some similarities, so we dropped medical supplies at the hospital in Lviv. Back then we were working together with another organization.
Mission went super great. First time I heard alarms. So when we were at the hospital, that's when I heard alarms for the first time, the sirens.
It's 4:15. Sun goes down.
And I was surprised that I wasn't more scared, you know, like I never heard that before. And I distinctly remember not being scared at all, and actually kind of a sentiment of belonging and purpose, which even though fear was still there, and I would like to say I was completely like free of fear, but even though fear was there, this sentiment of purpose and belonging was overcoming this sentiment of fear. Then started running a few missions in Ukraine from Poland to Lviv and Ternopil mostly for the first maybe 2 weeks that I was there, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's almost exclusively what I did was doing runs in Lviv and Ternopil, and eventually Chris came to me with a plan, an evacuation he was given.
I asked him if he would like to join me on evacuation back then northeast of Kiev. The mission came in during from a dude called Patrick Mintz. He's from Leave No One Behind. It's also a big organization doing several projects in Ukraine, Iran, and everywhere. And he asked me if I can do that. So I said yes, I could do that.
When we got the mission, Russians, they were still almost surrounding Kiev, you know, they just started pulling back. And then we got the mission. The city was Bobrik, and I remember being extremely nervous because I went to the war at first thinking I was going to work in a refugee camp, but now it was doing an evacuation on a territory that was just liberated.
So how did we plan the mission? Basically, this happened in a tent on the Polish border, close to Ukraine, and it was supposed to. We were supposed to go there with 2 vehicles in order 1 vehicle breaks, which is really likely there. Important is that you have a good buddy like Alex. What I like about Alex, he is, in my opinion, a highly intellectual guy, and his planning is impressive. he plans out the things perfectly, and he has a big talent to get information by open sources. We had another guy on the headquarters. He also was ex-special forces, and he was connected to some some well-informed people, let it say that way, and he also were supplying us with informations.
We started at like 5 a.m. I remember it was snowy, and it was extremely cold that morning. That I remember quite distinctly. Packed the truck, packed the van, and a few hours later, we were on the road.
We drove to Lviv first, dropped some supplies at the shelter there. Then we were heading to Kiev.
We slept in Uman, south of Kiev, on the first night, and I remember it was the first time that I had a hot shower in like 3 weeks. And the owner of the hotel, and we arrived, and it's all dark. There's no lights outside when we arrive at the hotel. So we're kind of like, oh, are we at the right place? It seems like a weird place because it's super dark. So everything seems weird, you know. We ended up talking to him for maybe an hour and a half. So it was actually a great night. And then next morning, on the road again. And then now is the time, you know, like I remember I knew the easy part was done.
In that case, we were coming in from the south side to Kiev, since the northern roads still were not safe, or considered to be not safe. So we made kind of a loop down south, and then east, and then up north.
When the Russian pulled back, the city of Kiev was quite nice. You know, it was easy to go through. The checkpoints, they stopped us obviously, but as soon as we were telling them what we were doing and where we were going, they were just letting us through. So it was a nice drive through Kiev. It's when we actually hit the road outside Kiev.
We dropped some medical supplies at the hospital in Kiev, and we were asking in Kiev about the situation where we actually had to pick up the family. And Kiev said us, you can't go there are still shootings, it's too dangerous, it's impossible. So we called the family, and they said no, there are no shootings anymore. The Russians left yesterday or 2 days before, or something like that. The security, or for our own security, we arranged with the headquarters, which was on the Polish side. We arranged to give contact via WhatsApp, including location, every 2 hours on the way to there. And we had 24-hour meeting points. So besides that, we had a pickup point in case everything goes down. It was a remarkable point close to Lviv, where we would make it to, where our recovery team, if you want to call it that way, would pick us up.
As soon as we hit the bridge in Barbary, and then we wanted to go in Bobrik, so approximately 45 minutes an hour from there, that's when we started actually seeing what the war did.
Das weiß ich. Die haben die zuerst beklaut und dann gebombt. Das waren alles Geschäfte. Das haben die gezielt gemacht.
We never knew if the next checkpoint was going to be Russian or Ukrainian. We had to stop. We had to watch because the front line moved so quickly in the last few days. It was hard to keep up with it, you know, and mines were laying on the ground, exploded cars. Even though we felt the war before, we were never in it. And now that was the first time, I think, for the both of us that we were in the war. For at least for me, it was an experience. You know, it was my first real contact with the war in Ukraine. And we enter Babrik. We entered the village, and there was nobody outside. Not a single soul was outside, and I was like, what is going? And then everything is destroyed there. Every single buildings is shattered. There's bullet holes everywhere. There's craters and at every corner. There's destroyed cars. It was bad. It was really bad.
Building that just got bombed. Small village and bombed buildings.
And then we hit the house. We arrive on target, you know, and the family came out. Four or five kids, 4 kids, the father and the mother, and then they just welcomed us like we knew them for years, you know, like there was no awkwardness, there was nothing. It was just like from this day onward we're part of the same family, you know.
They were stuck since several weeks in a small village which was occupied by Russians, and shrapnels and bombs were flying there every day. Their house was basically pierced by shrapnels and bullet holes, including the roof. And they also had no electricity anymore, so it was hard to have contact with them in order of the planning for the mission.
And the mother gave us a tour of the area, talked to us about what happened in Bobrik. They were under Russian occupation.
Weil es gibt schon so dumme Leute, die da drauf klettern. Schaut,
Oh ja, das raucht sogar noch.
2 Wochen. Das 26.
Ja.
26. Bei uns stand, und im Kindergarten haben die so wie,
Yeah.
da ist Kindergarten.
So they were using the civilians as protection, so they were
Ja,
parking close to them.
und so.
The house, as I already said, was pierced by shrapnels. And there was a shrapnel coming through entering the outer wall, going through some kind of board where they had the dishes in, then crossing the couch, and then leaving the house again on the other walls.
The father got shot in the leg purposely by Russians because he didn't want to give his belonging or something. I still don't understand how they survived, if I'm honest. Alright guys, so we are on the highway E95 or M101. It's bombing everywhere. There were tanks on the side of the road. We've got a shrapnel in the tire, rear right tire. So it's deflating slowly. The lead car from the Ukrainian military, they also have a flat tire. So we are going to Kiev. We'll probably have to stop to refill the tires because we won't be able to go all the way to Kiev. It's about 40 clicks to Kiev. So we'll have to refill the tires, and we'll stay with them until everything is fixed. And yep. You want to add something?
It's fine.
Then grab the family and headed back through the border. So we went through another road in the area, which I thought was a good road, you know, but we don't have reconnaissance in this area, so we have to go even more slow. And then we arrived on the road, and it was not a good road. We were about to turn around, but then some military guys stopped us and they said, "Hey, we've been there before. Just follow us, and then we'll go through."
We took a different road, unfortunately, that time. Then we came in, so after a while the road was gone. Suddenly there was a huge crater in the highway. So the highway was gone at that point, you couldn't go further. And then you could see there was a kind of a dirt road going to the right into the forest.
So the whole road was covered in shrapnels and bullets and destroyed cars, and mines and this and that, and it was really really hard to go through. We actually got a flat tire there, and we had to change it once we arrived in Kiev. One of the shrapnel from the ground just popped the tire. We should have just turned around. But we didn't know, we thought the military knew, but looking back, we should have turned around and took an alternate route. This mission is really when my mindset changed. And I remember when I came back, Sandro kept asking me like, bro, are you good? You don't seem like you're good, you know, like what's going on? And back then I said, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine, bro. But I wasn't fine. What I should have said to him is more like, at the moment I'm confused, I'm not fine, but I will be fine.
Yeah, overall it was a really nice experience, Alex. I hope to see you soon again. Maybe this winter again, I don't know. Who knows what's coming up next, those crazy days.
Came back to Poland. Came back to Poland, and that's, like I said before, that's really where I shifted mindset. This is actually what I'm trying to do. It's these type of operation. It's not just medical supplies in Lviv. That's not useful anymore. At that point in the war, it wasn't useful anymore because Lviv was like the volunteering center. And so I knew Lviv shouldn't be the target anymore. It should be, for example, Kiev or other places, but not Lviv. So we moved once we came back, we moved to Lviv. So 22nd rented a place in Lviv, or not Lviv, but like the region of Lviv. And that's where we started operating from there. So we had people going to the border. So from, for example, Germany to the border, they were bringing us the supplies either at the border or a little bit after the border. And then from our ground in the region of Lviv, we were going to get the supplies and bringing them back to our warehouse. Unfortunately, at that point in the war, you know, like people that took vacation, they had no vacation left. You know, it's maybe a month now in the war, and so vacation started running lower and lower, and then so volunteers starting being lower and lower. And at some point, I remember we were only me, Sandro, and Niels, and that was it. After maybe 2-3 weeks, I got one of my friend, another volunteer. We connected, and then he said, "Listen, I have a mission in Kharkiv. I have 2 cars. I got 1 team, and I took information. I went to my boss at 22nd, and I presented him the mission package, and he said, if you feel like you should do it, you do it." And Sandro was like, "You want to go?" Because at first I was going there alone. I didn't have war experience. That's not what I'm saying. But I've been, you know, like in Kiev a few times at that point, and I was kind of getting acquainted to being in the war. So Sandro just looked at me and said, "Bro, if you tell me not to come, I won't come. But you are not going there alone. I'm going with you." And I said, okay. It was an unknown territory for me, and I don't like putting others in dangers when I'm not 100% sure of what's going to be the outcome. But I accepted. I said, "Yeah, bro, come. We'll do this together." And then we went to Kharkiv with the team. We got the supplies from 22nd, got the car from the other organization, and then we headed to Kharkiv. The mission went fine. Long road, a day and a half just to go there, a day and a half to come back. We slept in close to Kharkiv on the way there, and then we slept in Kiev when we came back. Artillery from northeast Kharkiv, Saltivka in area. Mission was to drop supplies at the hospital in the north, and then head back. That was the mission. So time on target, I believe 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the hospital, I mean. and then we came back, and then it really pushed again the limits of what was possible to do. And even Sandro, because after that I had to go back to Canada, I had to came back, and Sandro continued to do these type of missions in Kharkiv and area. So the bar was now very high for our next operations, because we knew it was possible now. We knew we could do it. Then I came back to Montreal. It was hard at first, I won't lie.
Looking back on the first time Alex came back, um, I was in a meeting for my job, with all my other friends. We were under the impression of when Alex was going to come back. But I had strong expectations that Alex coming back would need time before, maybe he was going to meet up with anybody, before he was going to want to talk or chat or socialize. And, he ended up surprising us the day he got back after our meeting. And I was fucking happy. I was happy to see him pushing himself out of his comfort zone. You adjust, you adapt. I feel like Alex is an adaptable individual, much like anybody who is inevitably going to be trying to do humanitarian work or work in that designated field. You have to be fucking adaptable, and to see him come back that day, and we went and grabbed coffee, it was good. For me, I was happy. I was like, damn, it worked. The mission was a success in the sense that he went there, he did his work.
I didn't know how I felt when I came back until I actually saw my friends. And the way they started looking at me, that's when I realized how I was actually feeling. I couldn't hide it from me anymore. I was shattered, not because of all the explosions or the stress or the lack of sleep. It was more because I found my life purpose. I found what I wanted to do. I made some unbreakable relationship, and now I left all of that behind, and it's kind of like the society was expecting me to just shift, to just came back in normal society and then start working and then make money and then go back into the same gear, but it's not possible. I'm not that person anymore, and even today I don't feel, if you ask if I was to meet myself 6 months ago, I'm not the same person. I'm two different beasts at the moment, like.
And I feel like that first time he came back, he definitely stayed in the headspace of being in Ukraine more than he came back to the headspace of being back home. And to be honest, at the beginning that was worrisome, because I get it. He's in the headspace of being in a war zone, and that doesn't translate normally to like normal civilian life,
But slowly going back to my meditation, going back to my lifestyle, it really helped me, and kind of finding myself again, finding who I was now compared to who I was before. And after maybe a month of working on myself, working on the business I wanted to start, Universal Guardian, I felt that I was myself again, and I was ready to face new adventures. 16th of July, I was back on the plane, and I was on my way again to Germany.
I was quite confident in Alex's capabilities of heading a mission in Ukraine the second time, especially as things progressed within the conflict, that he was going to be making his way to, more frontline communities that needed help. He was working with a very competent team. He was pushing his social media. He was putting in a lot of work to make sure that, what was happening there was being seen. And he was also, working with people who were doing the same thing.
Now in Germany, I'm with Sandro, and we're looking for a car, because we have no car, and I'm still looking for one, and we have a contact that might be able to, and then Niels told me that this and that, and Finally, we got the car. The car is not working. It worked. We took the car. On the way to Sandro's place, the car slowly started to break apart. At first, I had 5 gear. When I arrived at Sandro's place, I had 2 gears that was working. The other one weren't working. And that's when Chris Sham approached me on Instagram and said, "Bro, I have a car for you. Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah." Great car. I love that car. It was a gift, you know, like a real present from Santa Claus, you know. And so now we have gear, we have a team, we have a car, and it's time to roll.
We are sleeping in the car. What's up, Sandro?
Huh?
What's up?
Fucking small car.
Yeah. Well, how many hours do we drive? 14 hours? Is that what we said?
Yeah, 13, 14 hours.
14 hours of driving. We enter Ukraine tomorrow. And we go to Lviv, Kiev, we meet a few people.
We met Niels and Karina in Kiev, and never met Karina before. It was instantly, it instantly clicked. You know, Karina's a great human being. She's a translator, so it's easy for us to speak English, and then she can speak Ukrainian and Russian. She's Ukrainian born. And so we started planning where we wanted to go, and then at first I said I'd like to go to Donbass.
It was an amazing time. I remember in July, I every day talking about it. I want to go back east. I want to go back to Kharkiv. I want to start some projects there. I every day talking about it, and I actually started to contact some people there and looking for some information about the completely, let's say, situation in the city. And then I arrive in Germany, take some rest, and you arrive in Germany, and we meet. And you talk with me and say, "Bro, I want to go in the Donbass region. I want to make some evacuations there." And I tell you, "Bro, are you behindert? That's fucking dangerous. You want to go alone to Donbass? And come on, I want to go back too. Let's go to Kharkiv. We have this and this contacts. We can do. And you like the idea, and then we start together a mission planning.
And then we go in Kharkiv. We have a place to stay there. Sandro, I don't know how he met that lady. I don't remember, but he was able to find us a place to stay, and we could operate from there. At least the first 2-3 weeks, that's where we operated from. And even after that, sometimes we were going back there just to grab some dinner, you know. Our first mission, I don't remember how it came to be, but we decided to go past Chuguyev near Pechnihi.
All right, so we are now at the location where we will meet a lady from, what's the city again? No, here.
She's from Pechnigiv, but she'll come to Kisivka.
Kisivka, yeah. And we're just hiding under this, and the cars are further away because, you know, we are not doomed, you know, and we don't want to be in the car if it goes boom. So now we're just waiting for a few minutes. The girl is supposed to come here to meet us, and then we'll assess the situation, go with her at the village, and deliver the supplies either here or at the village nearby.
And then first mission was in collaboration with IMES. So we had one of our friends there, which came from Kiev to Kharkiv with us, our friend Julia. And so we had collaboration with them. Like the first mission we did, we realized all the mistakes we did from this mission. It was still dangerous what we did because it wasn't as procedural as it was, let's say, at the end of my time there. But we learned a lot from these first missions of what to do, what not to do. We built a lot of contacts there, and then we started proving to the people, to the locals, that even though our team was mostly foreigners, except of course of Julia and Karina, which are both Ukrainian, the rest, me, Sandro, and Niels, we are foreigners. Well, we slowly started to prove to the locals that we were there to help and to do good job. You know, slowly we kind of build a network of local organization that they were willing to help us work on the ground and help the people.
Every once in a while, I would definitely worry about, you know, shit escalating in Ukraine. You know, whether it would be getting worse, getting better. You know, how is this going to take Alex's mission? What direction would this pull him into? But, you know, as time went on and he seemed to get a better foothold there and get a better understanding of the situation, you know, I feel like the other people, you know, who are back home thinking about Alex, definitely gained the confidence knowing that, you know, Alex was in the right place and he was doing the things he needed to do and he knew what the heck he was doing, you know. And yeah, you know, every update that we got, that I got when Alex was there, it was just another, you know, seed, you know, to plant the foundation that this was what was meant to happen, you know. And I was definitely proud. Yeah.
Yo, that one that you sent me last night, that sounded pretty fucking close.
Bro, I'm here working on the phone, doing some stuff on my computer, and then I'm freaking tired, bro. I can't do it anymore. I'm just like, oh, I just want to go sleep. It's like midnight. Go in my room, and then boom! I'm like, oh shit.
That was the video you sent to me?
Yeah.
Like sleeping in Kharkiv is different than going there for a 20-30 minute drops, you know. Like the bombings really, it takes toll on your mind, you know, on your psychological being. And the first week I didn't really feel it. First few weeks, maybe the first 2 weeks, I didn't really feel the toll that it was taken on my mind. But after some times we moved from the lady's place, so we went further a little bit more in Kharkiv. When every night you have a bomb falling a few hundred meters away from you, after a while you start thinking, if they move grids every night, maybe I'm on the next one, you know, maybe I'll be on the next grid that they choose.
Oh, you good? Should I wake up the other ones if they don't?
Last night around, I'm not sure I remember, maybe around midnight, I was sleeping in a bed and Phipps was working on his computer, and then all of a sudden I just heard a very loud noise and I felt the whole house shook, and I had my bandana over my eyes because I wanted to sleep and he wanted to work, so and then I just jumped out the bed, tried to get my bandana out, and then I saw Phipps trying to close the computer, close the light and everything, and then it was in our district. S-300 missile hit the sports center nearby. It hit the garden, or the just outside of the building, but it also damaged the building, and of course the windows of the building were completely shattered. And I'm not sure exactly where, but it was very, very close to our current location. So it's the first time since I'm here that I really was adrenaline mode after an explosive, after a missile. I think it's due that I was sleeping and I was not expecting it. When you're awake and you hear it boom, then you kind of know what happened. Now I was sleeping, so I did not expect that at all. And I woke up in crisis, panic mode, you know, but well, yeah, after that everything was calm for the rest of the night, but that was a very surprising moment, I would say.
Hi there, my name's Phipps. I'm a photographer from Germany, more specific a photojournalist, and I've been in Kharkiv, Ukraine for 2 weeks. The first time I got into mostly direct artillery shellings. The hits were just 50 to 100 meters away. That was really impressive, really loud, ground shaking, but to be honest there wasn't that much time to let these impressions work, because if the hits are so close you have to go somewhere, and fortunately we were super close to a bomb shelter, so I just got down there and waited till it ends. That's all I could do for the moment. For me, it wasn't the fact that there are bombings and stuff like this, because it's war and you should know that there are things like this. Of course, they are not as you expect them to be, because it's something totally different to feel the explosion so close to you than just thinking about it. But the fact that really bothered me sometimes is more that you can do so little about it. If you are there and the artillery started firing directly at you, you just can go away there. You just can hide from it and you just go under a shelter or something. Nothing more. And that's sometimes quite stressful because, yeah, that's just so much that is not in your hands.
Alright.
What is this?
The information. Just put it inside for now. We'll figure it out later.
Alright. All good? When we work, when we sleep, when we sit in the garden and drink a coffee, I don't fucking know. I really don't fucking know. That's it. I only can say that the first time when an artillery grenade hit very close to me, it was in Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. I was sleeping and you wake up from the shock from the hit the first time and you be so scared in the first moment, and the second moment you understand you have not the power to stop it, and in the third moment you understand when you want to work in an area like that, you have to make your peace with this, because when the artillery grenade or the rocket hit your house, the missile hit your house, you know, what do you want to do? Be nervous? Start to cry? No. When you want to work there, you have to handle it in this moment. I remember we start the project in Kharkiv, and the first night you and me, we sleep in the same room, and you wake up and I wake up, and we was only quiet, you know. You was quiet, I was quiet, and we listen outside. And I think, I don't know, I was a little bit scared, of course.
You hear people yelling?
Yeah. No, not but at the beginning, yes. Because in the night when you wake up and you're feeling so powerless, you have no power. You want to sleep? You have two options. You sleep and you say, "Pohui, fuck off." So I sleep. I don't listen. I make my ear protection or whatever. I close window and I sleep because I'm tired. Or you say, "I'm scared," and I go to a bombing shelter. That's the options that you have, and in the end of the story you accept that you want to sleep. And then you say "Pohui," and after a few weeks you don't hear it and you don't listen to the bombs, and yeah, I don't feel for few days, like every day was missiles and artillery and whatever, dangerous situations. I don't feeling scared, but on some point I coming home and I'm really feeling scared, and I was very happy that we all be alive and don't be wounded, and yeah. But in this moment you work, you do what you do, and you have to accept it. I don't have an answer how we do it, how I do it, but you looking every day for a way.
Through contacts that we had, we started running evacuation in Pecheniki with different organizations that they were collaborating to get people out of the Russian territory, of the Russian controlled territory, to the Ukrainian controlled territory, through the Pechnihi Bridge. Of course, I love doing convoy. I love doing medical supply drops, medical support, food supply drops. I love doing these type of work, but the evacuation, it was something else. It was a different type of experience, a very unique sensation going there. The number of people that were there from all over Ukraine, they were coming to this evacuation because they knew thousands of people were going to come out to there. At least hundreds of people were going to cross that narrow bridge. It's hardly made for one person to cross, and now we're evacuating hundreds of people through that bridge. We were crossing the bridge the whole day, as long as we could. We were crossing that mega hole in the middle. Different volunteers, which they had on the Russian occupied territory, different volunteers, they were bringing elderly people, like in small buses. They were bringing them before the hole, and then they were dropping them there, and we would help the people, the elderly people, or the mothers with their child, or the people that had physical problems like missing a leg or something. We were helping them crossing the bridge with their luggages and their animals and their kids, and we were helping them crossing the bridge the whole day. And then I remember the number of cars that were coming, and people would just drop the car there. They would just drop their car and cross the bridge. And I remember, although it's a kind of an unofficial green corridor, the war is not over. There's still artillery falling everywhere around the corridor. Like, there's a narrow green corridor that you can go through by car, but all around it is not a corridor. So there are still artillery battles taking place all around. So not only is it emotionally draining to actually carry that child in your arm, or that grandmother on that wheelchair, you have that sound, that horrifying sound that's taking place in the back, that kind of like death music that's filling the air. It was a very paradoxical environment.
Готовы, да? На старт! Внимание! Погнали, черти! Оба!
My first mission on the front line was a trip to a small village I, to be honest, cannot pronounce. We delivered food packages, which we've picked up from Dolonki, a local warehouse in Kharkiv, where you can just pick up food packages and deliver them out. Yeah, we got it into our cars and drive into the planned direction, and got from checkpoint to checkpoint, to wait there to get to the next checkpoint, and so on. Yeah, the mission was successful, but the most and biggest thing that stuck in my mind when I think about this mission was the waiting game. Because at one specific checkpoint we've almost waited about an hour, just because the soldiers there was telling us, oh, you cannot go there, it's dangerous, there are heavy shellings and stuff. And yeah, we were like, fine, but we don't mind. And yeah, so they have to call the commander and stuff, and we are just waiting there, and I promise you it's not a great feeling to wait almost an hour under clear sky with a total lack of trees and anything you can hide from drones. So yeah, that was quite awkward, but at the end of the day nothing bad happened. The people got their food and we've got home. So yeah, that was my first mission to the front line.
Stary Saltiv, that's a mission that I absolutely need to talk about. Even though it was early in my time in Kharkiv, it wasn't the most intense in terms of danger per se, like on amount of bombing. We worked other days where it was much more intense. It's more about the roads and the actual risk of getting targeted by drones or artillery. That's the kind of the mix between the two that made it extremely nerve-breaking.
I would say it was one of these cheeseburger and chicken nugget days, you know, when you arrive at home and you only want to eat a cheeseburger or some chicken nuggets. Yeah, it was one of these days. I would say a very, very adrenaline mission. I don't know, I looking some videos from like the camp, you know, from this day. Bro, we all was so on adrenaline, drones in the air. You drive drifting with a city car inside this off-road piece road, dirty road. Drones in the air, in the view of the Russians. I'm so happy that they don't shoot us down. Like, it's one of these days, you know, you going out from the area and you arrive at home and you realize how lucky you be.
The van from WCK, we had to drop it under the trees because we couldn't bring it further, because number one, they couldn't have gone there. Like it just rained the night before, and so all the roads, they were dirt roads, and it was full of mud. So even my car had a terrible time trying to cross it. So we had to leave the van behind to make sure it stayed safe. And on our way to target, on that short distance between the van and Stary Saltiv, my car got stuck. That everybody came out their car because there's drones in the air and there's artillery and there's artillery observers, so we have to make the car move as fast as possible. And now my car is real deep stuck. Everybody put their hands in the dirt, you know, and then we started trying to move the car. Leah pulled us out, and then we were able to go. But then, when you go up that hill where I got stuck in the mud, which is like a farm road or like a forest road, it's not made for normal cars, you know. Then you hit a normal road, but on that normal road, it's in the direct view of the Russians that are on the right side of us at that point, and it's a straight road and it's fields all around. So we have to go like light speed. Like we gotta go as fast as possible on these roads, but they are full of holes. Like it's deep holes. So I just remember the shake of, like, I have a Renault Megane. I don't have like a Jeep Wrangler. I have a small city car, and the clutch was broken. The clutch was extremely hard to work. It took me forever to be able to work it. And now I'm going from drifting in the mud, trying to go 1, 2, 1, 2, maybe 3, you know, and then drifting in the mud to I'm going on the road, and now I have to drive 150 kilometers per hour in a road with a bunch of holes. If I take a hole wrongly, I'm breaking the car, and we're even in the worst situation that we were 5 minutes before when I got stuck in the mud. My heart was pounding in my chest. If I was a cartoon, you could see my shirt just going back and forth in the shape of a heart, right? And arrived on target, dropped the things, everything went great, came back, because now WCK's van stayed behind. They couldn't go there, but they still had supplies. So we have to come back, grab supplies from this van, load the cars again, and do the road the second time. So now it's been 3 times. We did 1, 2, and we have to go and then come back. So that's actually, we did the road 4 times in total.
Колесо слишком маленькое для этой машины. Запаска.
Вот это мой?
Да.
Нет.
No.
Это ее стандартный. Что я здесь?
Need 70mm bolts in every kind of universe.
Drink this.
Yeah. Can you help me drink water? Can you help me drink water?
What the fuck is this question? Are you serious?
Yeah, of course.
What the fuck?
Do you see my hands?
Bro, alles gut?
Я снял.
More?
Okay, we have 4 packages left. We can get them.
Came back, and as soon as we came back from the place and we took the van, so we grabbed the van, we went out. As soon as we went on the main, like normal road, we got out of these farm roads, forest roads. It started raining like I've never seen before, and I couldn't see 2 meters in the front. I had to open my blue light so the people in the back would see me, because don't remember, we have camouflage cars, so like a little bit hard to see, you know, even in normal days. So in the rain, the car is very dark. It's kind of like in weird shapes, and the red lights are not always visible. So we had to open the blue lights on top so people could see us. And I kept thinking to myself, have I got stuck 5-10 minutes more, we would not have come out of static salty. We would have been stuck there, or we would abandon the cars and came out by walk. There was no way we would be able to come back from there with that amount of rain in hills that are already mud with holes, like craters in the ground. So we would never have been able to get out of there.
It was a very, very adventure, adrenaline, dumb, stupid, crazy day, and in the same moment I'm so happy that we do it, you know, because not a lot of people can going inside the area. I mean, World Central Kitchen truck was in the woods, you know, and waiting for us, and we drive inside and going back and drive again inside. So because they don't want to do it and can't do it with these cars, and we do it. We find a way. We're fighting so much on this day for finish the mission. Again, I on this day I feel how fucking I love this team, you know, and I trust all of you so much. I don't want to say with other people in this situation, really. So it was a good day and a crazy day at the same time.
The second time I've been there, and also the third time, I had in my mind that I wanted to help more people on the front lines in the places, the big NGOs like Red Cross and all the other stuff, where they don't go. With Universal Guardian, it was like, yeah, we are at the right place and we are doing the right work at the right time.
We do it, you know. That's what I want to say. We do it. That's why the time was so amazing. I know not a lot of people, they talking about something and then they actually do it, you know. That's amazing, bro. It was a pleasure, a honor for me. Yeah, the missions was very good. We do so much fucking stupid things, but all the time with the heart in the right place. We every day help people. I don't know how much lives maybe we save, and we try our best to make from a normal project, a huge project.
I accompanied the team a few times to the front lines as a photographer, and yeah, they were delivering food packages to the villages there at the front lines. My impressions from their work were mostly really professional, really well planned, good organized, and yeah, that's all I could say about it. Even if these guys are just volunteers, they act in a really tactical and careful way. And to be honest, the situation there wasn't fun. Quite terrible if you think it through. But even in the face of this absolute tragedy and sometimes even hell, we always found an opportunity to have a good laugh, even if we had to create these opportunities ourselves. Right from the start I had a feeling that I would fit really well on this group. They were mostly really calm guys who knew what they are doing, and it turns out that this was the right guess. It's really important to have people around you that act in a calm way so you can orient on them, just to keep some calmness within the teams in these sometimes really harsh situations.
And so our last mission, we've been in Kharkiv now for maybe almost 2 months, and I remember Leia talked a lot about going to Balakleya because she's been there before, and now it was under Russian control. We prepared a mission package because we wanted to go in this area, and then we chose the region of Balakleya. I don't know if it's by coincidence or we heard something and clicked in our mind that we had to go there, but I remember we chose that location, and the same day that we were doing this particular mission, that's when the Ukrainian army launched an offensive on Balakleya and actually ended up retaking the whole of Kharkiv region in the days to come. I remember it was the most intense day of the whole war, for me at least.
Again.
There were Sukhoi in the air, like frog foot flying and dropping bombs and artillery battles everywhere. We could hear the outgoing, the incoming. It was really intense. And
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we gotta go because the counselor is coming.
What is coming?
Der 8-jährige Fest am Morgen. Vertreibt, Kummer und Sorgen.
Naja, am Morgen ist jetzt.
And we were right in the middle. We were directly in the middle. There were tanks going. There were artillery batteries just firing towards the Russian forces. So on this particular convoy, on this day we were 4 cars. So we had the guy from Dolonki in the lead car. Then there was Leia, me, Lars, Björn, Theo, and Elias. On target, the guy that was our local contact, the guy from Dolonki. Something happened with the mayor, and then he wasn't there, so our contact on the ground directly wasn't there, so our local guide was trying to figure this out, and it took us a long time to actually get actual location to drop what we brought all the way from Kharkiv. And I was kind of like, all right, we gotta go, like we gotta move at that point. And then finally, after maybe, 45 minutes to an hour almost, we started moving, and we actually started doing what we had to do. And it was a really, really intense day. Everybody stayed calm under this amount of pressure, and mission was accomplished.
I never work in a team so close and so good like this team. I never trust a team like that. We do so dangerous things, and I'm feeling all the time safe. A lot, we make mistakes, and I was nervous sometimes, and we make mistakes, and but in the end of the story, we do some very dangerous things, and with the heart in the right place. And I know not a lot of people. With them, I can do it.
So now, leaving Ukraine a second time, had to say goodbye to my good friends now that I've known more than my own friends for the past 6 months. You know, like I talked to them more and in depth than most of my friends here in Canada, and then I had to leave them behind, and I will definitely say that the feeling wasn't the greatest. At first it felt like I was abandoning them. I kind of made peace with myself, because from my perspective, Universal Guardian is more than just Ukraine. Universal Guardian is more than just one team in one country, in one region. Universal Guardian is a project that will affect the entire world. It's a project that I wish will be able to be on every continent in every conflict, helping as much people as possible. But I can't build, I realized I couldn't build this organization if I stayed longer in Ukraine. So I had to come back.
To say all in all, as a friend of Alex, as a co-worker of Alex, his first 2 times in Ukraine, I feel, were great foreshadowing for what's to come within the career of Alex. And not only that, to see where Alex is going to bring other people as a humanitarian worker, as a leader, as a brother, as a friend. And, you know, I'm proud to not only know him, but I'm also going to be very proud to work beside him, to work with the teams that he builds. And, you know, just to observe it from, let's say, a distance is going to be quite the thing as well. I'm confident in that, and I'm confident in the capabilities of the missions that are to come.
So now, new mission, new project. So now I'm looking forward to go back to Ukraine in March. For this time, I want to go 3 months instead of 2, so a little bit longer. And for that though, I need, of course, obviously I need donations. I need to get myself some money, you know, and to get myself some contacts in the area. So I'm trying to get myself a pickup truck or a Jeep or something a little bit bigger at least, so I can go in Stary Saltiv without fearing to get stuck again, you know, or get a flat tire again. That's it. I'm extremely proud of what I did. I've been wanting to do that for all my life, and now that I've realized it, I knew, and I know today that this is exactly what I want to do, and there's no way that I will not do that for the rest of my life.
You have to deal with it. That's, for me, just sometimes quite hard. That's a fact you really should know when you go to war, because you can actually die at any given time. That's just reality. And even if you should know this fact, you also should try to not constantly carry this thought in your mind, because if you do so, that would be a very depressing time, and I promise you that there will be already enough shit going through your head, so you don't need to add up more. Get your shit together and act as professionally as possible. Even with my knowledge about the tactics in war aren't that distinctive, I was glad I had so awesome people like the Universal Guardian team around me I could rely on.
I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Hans. The sentence was always watch your six, which basically means look what's behind you. That's definitely one thing I took from Ukraine with home.
Last but not least, I want to say something to whoever looked this video now. When you have a goal and you really want to do something, and you have people, amazing people around you, they want to do the same like you, and you want to do the same like them, you follow the same goal, you can change the world. Nobody can stop you, block you, you have no limits. You can do whatever you want. You can change the world, maybe a little bit, but you can do it. A lot of people want to tell us that we can't do this, no, that will be not working, that's too dangerous. We don't give a fuck, and we do it all the time, every day. We're fighting about that, and we do it because we trust us and we trust ourselves to accomplish the mission and finish the project. And you can do the same. For me, that's the best experience that I make in Ukraine. To understand the world have no limits. You can make the world to a better place, be a good human, and nobody can stop you when you really want to do it.
There's a lot of ego shit going on in this humanitarian stuff, so everybody wants to be the hero. There's a lot of... That's one thing what I really don't like about the situation, that there's a lot of bullshitting about each other. I wouldn't call it that way, but sometimes you get the feeling that some people are there to get famous somehow. I have no idea, but it's just my impression. That once you're doing things other people didn't do before, they will start bullshitting about you. And of course everybody does mistakes, and then they will go for the mistakes, and because they didn't went there by themselves.
I've never been more close to world history than in these 2 weeks in Ukraine. And even if this is serious honor, it's a burden at the same time. Because everything you don't capture as a photographer is gone, and maybe gone forever. That's quite hard. That's really quite hard to deal with. So if you're willing to go to war as a photographer or videographer or whatever, don't stress yourself too much, because you just cannot capture everything, certainly not in the perfect angle. Focus on staying alive and don't get your team in any trouble. Besides that, do the best you can. If there's anything I've learned from this, guys, be as prepared as you possibly could be. So you minimize the chance that something really bad happened to you, and the most great thing about it is possibly that this thing will applies on every part of our lives, even peace. And I guess that's really something.